Nostradamus's dark vision of 2025 and what it means for you. What if the year 2025 isn't just another chapter in history, but a turning point foretold centuries ago by one of the most mysterious minds the world has ever known? You may have heard the name Nostradamus whispered in documentaries or quoted in moments of crisis, but his words have never felt more urgent than they do today. As global chaos deepens and our modern world trembles beneath the weight of environmental disasters, political unrest, and rapid technological shifts, many are turning to his ancient quatrains for insight. But this isn't just about prophecy, it's about awakening. In this video, we'll explore Nostradamus' most chilling predictions for 2025 and ask what they could mean for you, your choices, and your future. Because whether or not you believe in fate, one truth remains: the decisions we make today will shape the world we live in tomorrow. Number 1. Who is Nostradamus? Do you ever find yourself wondering if life unfolds by chance, or if something greater is at work, silently shaping the course of history? For centuries, people have wrestled with this mystery, especially when looking at the curious life and writings of Michel de Nostradamus, known to the world simply as Nostradamus. Born in 1503 in France, he was far more than a doctor healing plague victims. He was an astrologer, a thinker, and a man whose mind reached far beyond the limitations of his time. His most enduring legacy comes not from medicine, but from a series of poetic four-line verses, quatrains, that seem to stretch through time and whisper dark possibilities about the future. These cryptic messages have stirred both fascination and fear, inviting generations to look deeper into their meaning and perhaps to look more closely at their own lives as well. What makes Nostradamus so captivating isn't just the dramatic nature of his predictions, but how strangely they seem to echo through history. In his verses, many believe they've found clues pointing to real-world events: the French Revolution, Hitler's rise, even the atomic destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Though his language is cloaked in metaphor and mystery, these alignments make us pause and wonder. Were these coincidences? Or was Nostradamus truly connected to a deeper stream of wisdom? Some argue he was merely a gifted observer of human patterns, skilled at identifying the repeating cycles of politics, war, and nature. Others believe he had access to something greater, what some might call divine insight or cosmic awareness. Either way, his writings continue to stir a timeless question in us: how much of our lives is written in stone, and how much is still within our power to shape? As we enter the thick of 2025, this question feels more relevant than ever. Around us, the world seems to pulse with uncertainty. Climate change is not a distant threat. It's here, visible in floods, fires, and failing crops. Global politics grow more unstable by the day, and while technology connects us in ways our ancestors could never have imagined, it also creates deeper divides, social isolation, and ethical dilemmas we've never had to face before. In the face of such complexity, it's natural to turn to ancient wisdom, hoping it might shine some light on where we're headed. And in that search, many are looking back to Nostradamus, not just to seek shelter in his warnings, but to ask deeper questions about responsibility, purpose, and direction. His verses, while often bleak, also offer an invitation to stay awake to the patterns around us, to observe not only the external world, but our own behavior within it. The darker visions he described may not be fixed prophecies, but potential outcomes, a mirror of what happens when humanity loses its balance. That thought alone carries a powerful message for our time. We're not helpless observers of a doomed script. We're co-creators of this world, capable of making choices that can shift the trajectory. So while Nostradamus' work may stir unease, it also calls us to reflect more deeply on the consequences of our actions, to seek clarity in chaos, and to become more mindful stewards of both our personal lives and the planet we share. In that light, his writings can become more than just historical curiosities or scary predictions. They become an opportunity to ask ourselves, what kind of future are we creating right now? What values are guiding us? And how can we, in our own small but meaningful way, contribute to a more peaceful, conscious and connected world? Whether or not you believe in prophecy, this is the real challenge of our time. Not to wait for the future to be revealed, but to shape it with compassion, wisdom, and a sense of responsibility for those who will come after us. Number 2. Nostradamus' 10 most creepy predictions for 2025. 1. Volcanic eruption on the Pacific. Ring of Fire. As we step into the haunting depths of Nostradamus' vision for 2025, a sense of foreboding begins to stir, one that shakes not only the earth beneath our feet, but the very fabric of how we perceive the future. Among his most unsettling prophecies is a vivid portrayal of a catastrophic event within the Pacific Ring of Fire, a region already known for its violent temperament, holding 75% of the world's active and dormant volcanoes, like a string of fire-bound beads circling the Pacific Ocean. In one of his cryptic quatrains, Nostradamus writes, "The earth will tremble around the new city. 2 great rocks will burn for a long time. The sky will ignite over the ocean. The city will be engulfed in ashes and flames." These chilling words have led many to believe he foresaw a massive volcanic eruption, perhaps one that surpasses all that human memory has recorded. And while such a prediction stirs anxiety, it also invites us to pause and reflect. How prepared are we for nature's unpredictable power? History is no stranger to these calamities. Mount Tambora's eruption in 1815 plunged the world into the year without a summer, causing crop failures and famine across continents. Krakatoa's fury in 1883 was so intense it altered weather patterns and darkened skies worldwide. Today, scientists vigilantly monitor modern giants like Yellowstone in the US, the Campiflegrei supervolcano in Italy, and the ever-restless Mount Taal in the Philippines. These are not mere myths but geological giants lying in wait, and the Philippines alone, right on the Ring of Fire, is home to 24 active volcanoes. If Nostradamus' vision was not merely poetic fear-mongering, but a genuine warning whispered through time, then we may be looking at a future not yet written, but perilously close to manifesting. Mount Fuji, Japan's majestic yet potentially explosive peak, also looms as a silent guardian over densely populated regions, its slumber as unsettling as any loud eruption. The notion of the sky catching fire evokes terrifyingly real images of pyroclastic flows that incinerate everything in their path, of fiery clouds of ash that blot out the sun, creating an eerie twilight at midday. This isn't just about one explosion, it's about what comes after. Scientists call it a volcanic winter, a scenario where ash and sulfur dioxide particles in the atmosphere reflect sunlight away from Earth, causing temperatures to plummet. Agriculture would falter under the weight of cold skies and barren fields. Food systems could collapse, sparking global panic and waves of migration as people search for sustenance and safety. In such moments, we are reminded of the Buddhist teaching. Everything that has a beginning has an ending. Make your peace with that, and all will be well. This is not meant to instill fear, but to help us understand the impermanence and fragility of all things, including our seemingly invincible modern systems. Despite all our technological advancements, early warning systems, satellite monitoring, disaster protocols, we remain deeply vulnerable to nature's might. Nostradamus's dark vision might not be just a tale from the past, but a mirror to our present ecological negligence. As we continue to drill into the Earth, burn forests, and ignore the signs of planetary imbalance, could we be sleepwalking toward the very fate he foretold? The Earth, after all, speaks in tremors and eruptions when it is unheard, in whispers. The Dhammapada reminds us, from craving springs grief, from craving springs fear. For him who is wholly free from craving, there is no grief. Whence then fear? Perhaps what Nostradamus was truly offering was not a promise of doom, but a plea for mindfulness. So what does this mean for us today? It means we must respect the Earth not only as our home, but as a living being with its own cycles, balance, and warnings. It means preparing not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually for uncertain times. And it means choosing not to live in fear of the unknown, but to walk with awareness, compassion, and adaptability. We may not stop a volcano, but we can choose how we treat each other in times of crisis, how we live more simply, more mindfully, and more connected to nature. Because in the face of darkness, even the smallest lamp of wisdom can guide the way. 2. Political upheaval and betrayal. Let's take a deep breath and explore this together. Nostradamus, the 16th century seer, has long fascinated the world with his cryptic quatrains, and one in particular has caught the attention of those wondering what 2025 may hold, especially when it comes to political upheaval and betrayal. His verse says, "The great empire will be replaced by another, a small place of lethal area. They will come to expose the false exploits of the ambitious man from the West." These words speak with a haunting clarity. They point toward not just the fall of a powerful force, but the rise of a smaller, possibly underestimated, player one with deadly potential. It paints a picture of trust broken, alliances shifting, and truths uncovered that could shake the very core of global stability. So the real question is, are we already beginning to see the signs of this transformation? And how might it touch our own lives? In our modern world, nations are tightly bound by treaties, trade, and shared security interests. These partnerships are often presented to the public as unshakable, forged in unity and mutual benefit. But if we glance into the pages of history, we find a different reality. Alliances, no matter how firm they seem, are often built on fragile trust. All it takes is a spark, ambition, distrust, fear to unravel years of cooperation. Nostradamus' vision may not just be about grand battles or toppling governments. It could also be reflecting the quiet cracks forming behind diplomatic smiles. And it's not only between nations. Within countries themselves, especially in politically volatile places, we often witness sudden betrayals, former allies turning rivals, coalitions splintering, and power shifting hands not through ballots, but through manipulation and backroom deals. Consider the Philippines, for example. Its political scene is marked by rapidly changing loyalties, shifting narratives, and unpredictable alignments. Could Nostradamus have foreseen these turbulent waters? And what about the mention of the ambitious man from the West? Might this be a symbolic reference to a dominant leader or even a country that has long held sway over international affairs? If so, it raises an even bigger question. Are we witnessing the decline of a global superpower and the rise of a new, more volatile force? The term small place of lethal area might even suggest that power in the modern era doesn't necessarily depend on size, but on influence technological, economic, or even psychological. A smaller country or a non-state actor could hold the key to global disruption. As we approach 2025, this possibility feels less like speculation and more like an unfolding reality. Tensions in regions like Eastern Europe, the South China Sea, or the Middle East are already simmering, and it wouldn't take much for these hotspots to ignite larger consequences. And here's where it comes back to you. What role do we play in this unfolding story? Are we merely spectators to these shifts, or can we become voices of awareness, peace and unity in a time of division? It's tempting to be afraid when we hear predictions like these, but what if they're not meant to scare us? What if they're meant to prepare us? Political betrayal doesn't begin with leaders, it often begins with people losing connection, trust, and shared purpose. Whether in our communities, our countries, or our families, the true antidote to betrayal is integrity, understanding, and courage. So ask yourself, what kind of leadership do we truly need in a world that may be heading for such change? And what kind of person do you want to be as these shifts take place around you? The lesson here isn't just about watching the world with caution, it's about learning how to respond to chaos with clarity. Nostradamus may have seen the signs, but we are the ones living through them. Let's not just be passive observers. Let's stay informed, think critically, and act compassionately. In times of uncertainty, let your integrity be your anchor. Let your awareness be your guide. And above all, let your actions reflect the kind of future you wish to see, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. If you've watched up to this point, you're clearly seeking to understand what the future might hold and how to prepare for it. Comment below with future, ready to show you're committed to staying aware and resilient, no matter what 2025 brings. Don't go anywhere, there's still powerful insight ahead that could help you navigate the uncertain times to come. Stay with us to uncover what Nostradamus' vision could really mean for your life. 3. Artificial Intelligence Revolution. As we step into 2025, you may have felt the growing presence of artificial intelligence in your everyday life, guiding what you watch, suggesting what you buy, even helping make decisions in healthcare and education. Now imagine this. Almost 5 centuries ago, the mystic Nostradamus wrote something cryptic, something that today feels eerily close to our reality. He spoke of the moon in full of night over the high mountain. The new sage with a lone brain sees it by his disciples, invited to be immortal, eyes to the south, hands in bosom, bodies in fire. While the language is poetic and shrouded in mystery, it seems to reflect something strikingly modern, the rise of artificial intelligence. The lone brain can be seen as a symbol of an advanced AI, an intelligence that doesn't need a body, doesn't sleep, doesn't die, and may even outthink the very minds that created it. By 2025, AI won't just be a tool, it's on the verge of becoming a central force in how we live, work, and understand our world. From hospitals to classrooms, battlefields to bedrooms, AI is no longer a whisper of the future, it's the voice speaking to us now. But here's the thing, just because AI can do more, doesn't always mean it should. The convenience is undeniable. AI diagnoses diseases faster than top doctors, generates art and poetry, predicts markets with stunning precision. Yet with all this power, we must pause and ask, at what cost are we embracing this change? The Buddha once said, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. So, when we create machines that learn from our thoughts, our data, our decisions, our mistakes, what kind of world are we actually building? Are we using technology to elevate human life, or are we letting it quietly replace us, one job, one decision at a time? These aren't just questions for scientists or tech giants. They're questions for you, because the impact will ripple through your life, your family, your future. Nostradamus's reference to being invited to be immortal feels like more than just a poetic twist. It reflects our current obsession with creating systems that live on forever, algorithms that never die, databases that remember everything, machines that improve themselves without end. But in Buddhism, the idea of permanence is an illusion. As the Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Are we turning toward wisdom, or blindly rushing toward a false immortality built by code and silicon? In chasing infinite efficiency, are we forgetting the value of human imperfection, the kindness in a human error, the lessons in suffering? Let's not forget, AI is only as good as the intentions behind it. And history has shown us, power without compassion can be dangerous. The fear isn't just that machines will become too smart, but that we'll forget to be wise. There's a real danger that AI could inherit not just our intelligence, but our biases, our fears, even our violence. Could Nostradamus's phrase, "bodies in fire," be a symbolic warning of conflict, technological or even literal, that arises when we let progress outpace our moral compass? So, I want to ask you this. As AI becomes a bigger part of your life, how will you relate to it? Will you be a mindful user, aware of its influence and limits, or a passive disciple, following it wherever it leads? How can we make space for both progress and wisdom, for innovation and humanity? Perhaps the greatest revolution in 2025 won't be artificial intelligence. It will be our ability to stay human in the face of it. Because, as Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, we are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness. Let's not create machines that divide us further, but find a way to use this power to bring more harmony, more connection, and more awareness to our lives. So take a deep breath. What does AI mean to you? And how will you walk your path with it, not in fear, but in wisdom? 4. The Rise of the East. As we reflect on Nostradamus's chilling vision of the year 2025, one particular prophecy stands out for its growing relevance in today's rapidly changing world: the rise of the East as the West grapples with decline. This isn't merely poetic metaphor or abstract speculation. It's a dynamic that's unfolding before our very eyes. In his cryptic language, Nostradamus pointed to a time when power would shift toward the direction of the rising sun, a symbol long associated with the East. In our modern context, this shift is no longer just a whisper in the wind. It is a thundering reality, led by countries like China and India, whose economic and geopolitical influence is growing day by day. The once unshakable dominance of Western powers is increasingly tested by internal division, economic strain, and political polarization, while Eastern nations are positioning themselves with clarity and intention, making bold moves on the global stage. This transformation isn't happening in silence. It's being built openly through projects like China's Belt and Road Initiative, a vast and ambitious plan to connect continents through infrastructure, trade, and cooperation. By 2025, the reach and impact of this initiative may not just reshape economies, it could redefine who sets the global agenda. China, often symbolized by the dragon in cultural and prophetic references, is not just expanding economically, it's forging ahead in technological innovation, with advancements in artificial intelligence, 5G infrastructure, green energy, and even space exploration. These aren't just signs of growth, they are signals of a new form of influence that extends beyond money or military might. It's about shaping the future itself. As these Eastern powers gain ground, Western countries, caught in waves of political instability, cultural fragmentation, and economic uncertainty, may find themselves struggling to maintain their traditional leadership roles. Nostradamus's words begin to feel less like mysterious riddles and more like timely reflections of a reality we must face. Yet this shift in global power isn't only about governments and economies. It also touches the deeper layers of culture, values, and worldviews. As Eastern philosophies and ways of thinking gain more global recognition, there is also the possibility for a richer, more diverse global culture to emerge. One where cooperation could replace competition, if only we are wise enough to embrace it. Still, history reminds us that major shifts in power rarely occur without friction. Nostradamus may have seen a new order rising, but he also may have glimpsed the struggles that accompany such transformation. Trade disputes, territorial tensions, or ideological clashes could ignite if old powers resist change instead of adapting to it. We are, as he suggests, standing at a great crossroads. The question that lingers is profound. Will humanity choose to transition through dialogue and shared responsibility, or will we fall into the traps of fear, control, and confrontation? These aren't just questions for politicians or scholars. They are questions for each of us. Because in a deeply interconnected world, every choice we make ripples outward. Whether we live in the East or the West, whether we are business owners, workers, educators, or simply people trying to live with dignity, we are all part of this shift. So let us look inward as well as outward, cultivating understanding, practicing compassion, and staying grounded in values that serve the whole. Perhaps the greatest wisdom we can draw from this prophecy is not to fear the rise of one side or the fall of another, but to use this moment as an invitation to co-create a future where power is no longer defined by dominance, but by the ability to uplift, heal, and unite. 5. Environmental disasters. Let's take a moment to truly reflect on what Nostradamus might have seen when he wrote, "The parched earth will grow even drier, rivers will mourn, and the fields will perish." These words may feel distant, even poetic, but if we look around, they echo a reality that is unfolding before our eyes. As we approach the year 2025, his dark vision warns us of environmental catastrophes that are not just possible, they are already beginning to happen. Global temperatures are rising, and with them come intense droughts, raging hurricanes, and catastrophic floods that threaten communities across every continent. Coastal cities are facing the slow but steady creep of rising sea levels, swallowing up shorelines and displacing families. Meanwhile, regions far from the coast suffer their own fate. Dry wells, failed crops, and a rising desperation for basic necessities like food and clean water. But this isn't just about nature. The environment doesn't exist in isolation from our lives. It is our life. The stability of entire nations depends on things like fertile soil, predictable weather, and access to water. So when these things begin to collapse, it creates a ripple effect. Food becomes scarce. Economies strain under the weight of disaster recovery. People are forced to migrate, not for opportunity, but for survival. And when millions are displaced, it doesn't just affect far-off places. It affects us all. Tensions rise, borders tighten, and conflicts erupt over the most fundamental of needs. Nostradamus's warnings aren't just prophecies to fear. They are wake-up calls to what happens when we stop respecting the balance between human life and the natural world. Have you ever wondered what kind of world we're leaving behind for the next generation? Are we making choices today that honor the earth and protect those who will come after us? These questions matter now more than ever, because the climate crisis isn't something that's coming, it's already here. And whether we believe in prophecy or not, the truth is clear. Nature is speaking, and if we continue to ignore her voice, we may find ourselves overwhelmed by the consequences. Still, all's not lost. These challenges are massive, yes, but they're not beyond our ability to respond. What if, instead of fear, we responded with responsibility? What if we saw Nostradamus's vision not just as doom, but as a deep reminder that we are part of this earth, not above it? Every action, no matter how small, carries weight. Supporting clean energy, reducing waste, conserving water, planting trees, raising awareness, these are not empty gestures. They are seeds of hope in a world that desperately needs them. So the message here is simple but powerful. We are not powerless. The future isn't written in stone. It's written in the choices we make today. And perhaps the greatest lesson we can take from Nostradamus's dark vision is this. When we remember our connection to nature, we begin to restore it. When we act with care, we protect not just the planet, but each other. What step will you take toward healing the earth today? Still watching? That means you're not afraid to face the unknown. And that's the first step to true awareness. Comment, "I choose clarity," if you're ready to meet 2025 with open eyes and steady heart. Keep watching to uncover deeper meaning and timeless guidance hidden in Nostradamus' dark vision. 6. Possibility of World War III. Let me take you into a vision, one not of fantasy, but of reflection, caution, and an urgent call for awareness. In one of Nostradamus's most haunting quatrains, he spoke of a chilling future. Two brothers torn apart by strife, the fortress falls, the great leader will succumb, the third great war will ignite when the big city is engulfed in flames. Now you might wonder, what does this really mean for you, for us, in this very moment? When we look at the phrase "two brothers torn apart," we aren't just hearing poetic language. We're witnessing the unraveling of alliances that once stood strong. Think of global relationships like the one between the United States and China, or the painful divide between North and South Korea. These aren't distant stories, they are unfolding in our lifetime, with tensions over Taiwan growing dangerously intense. China's push for unification and the West's opposition is more than just political posturing. It is a tinderbox waiting for a spark. Could this be the very fracture that Nostradamus foresaw? Now let's reflect on the fortress falls. In ancient times, this would have meant the fall of a kingdom. Today, that fortress could be a cyber defense system, a nation's economy, or even the social stability of a powerful country. What if that fortress is trust? Trust between nations, between people, between leaders. As Buddhist wisdom reminds us, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. And yet, we live in a world increasingly driven by fear, competition, and control. Ask yourself, what happens when the systems we rely on, our digital networks, our power grids, our sense of security, fail us? Will we respond with compassion or with retaliation? And then comes perhaps the most terrifying image of all, the great city burning. It's not just symbolic, it could be real. Whether through war, terror attacks, or even internal unrest, the vision of urban centers engulfed in flames is a direct reflection of what happens when we forget our shared humanity. We've seen glimpses of this already in Syria, in Ukraine, in the aftermath of nuclear tragedies like Hiroshima. But unlike the past, today's weaponry is far more advanced, far more capable of widespread devastation, and with that power comes deeper responsibility. So I ask you, what are we doing with that power? Are we using it to build bridges or to burn them? Nostradamus, whether you believe in his prophetic power or not, forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. His message may not be a fixed future, but rather a mirror showing us the consequences of our current path. Just as the Buddha once said, "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world." So, what kind of world are we creating with our thoughts, our actions, our silence? In the end, this isn't just a story about predictions. It's a wake-up call, a reminder that if we continue to feed division, glorify conflict, and turn away from empathy, we risk plunging into darkness. But if we choose understanding, if we nurture compassion, if we practice peace, not only in politics, but in our daily lives, perhaps the future can be rewritten. The question is, what role will you play? Will you be a voice that fuels fear, or one that calms the fire? The power to shape 2025 lies not just in the hands of world leaders, but in the hearts of each of us. What future do you want to help create? 7. Global energy crisis. Nostradamus's chilling words: "The lights will dim as resources fade. Machines will falter and the world will cry out. The old ways will be sought, but the answers lie deep within the Earth's core, echo through time as an unsettling reflection of where we might be heading by 2025. At its heart, this prophecy appears to warn of a deepening global energy crisis, and when we look around at current events, the alignment is striking. Energy is more than just electricity or fuel. It powers every aspect of our lives, from the moment we wake up, to the hum of lights, to the flow of information across our screens, to the smooth functioning of hospitals and transportation systems. But this lifeblood of civilization is under increasing strain. Fossil fuel reserves are finite and geopolitically sensitive, and as global demand soars, particularly in growing economies, supply is struggling to keep pace. We've already seen hints of what's to come in recent years as rolling blackouts, oil shortages, and skyrocketing energy prices have disrupted daily life in parts of Europe, Asia, and even the US, revealing just how fragile our systems can be. Nostradamus' symbolic imagery points not just to the visible consequences of energy scarcity, cities blanketed in darkness, machines grinding to a halt, but also to humanity's frantic scramble for solutions. His reference to the Earth's core is especially intriguing, possibly pointing toward untapped potential in geothermal energy or the long-promised revolution of nuclear fusion. While these technologies offer incredible promise, they are not immediate fixes. Building infrastructure, ensuring safety, and coordinating international policy take not only time, but also trust and cooperation, qualities often tested during times of crisis. In the face of scarcity, the risk is that nations may revert to old habits, competing over resources, hoarding fuel, or turning inward in fear. However, Nostradamus may be nudging us to look deeper, not only into the earth, but into ourselves, to consider sustainable paths that aren't just reactive, but wise and forward-thinking. There is another layer to this prophecy that speaks profoundly to our modern predicament, our increasing dependence on digital technology. As we move towards smart grids and internet-connected energy systems, our vulnerability expands beyond physical depletion to digital threats. A single cyber attack on power infrastructure could cause far-reaching chaos, and it wouldn't take a war to accomplish it, just a laptop in the wrong hands. This over-reliance on fragile systems, often built without strong ethical or security foundations, mirrors the deeper imbalance in how we live, constantly demanding more, but giving little thought to resilience or long-term harmony. Nostradamus may not have spoken of smart homes or cloud computing, but his foresight seems to touch on the consequences of building a world without grounding it in wisdom. So what can we learn from this vision? Whether or not we believe in prophecy, it serves as a powerful metaphor and a serious reminder. In our daily lives, we can start by rethinking our own consumption, turning off what we don't need, supporting renewable energy efforts, and choosing products that respect both the environment and future generations. On a broader scale, this is a call for communities and leaders to invest in innovation that aligns with nature, not against it. The crisis is not just in energy, but in attitude, a need to shift from reckless usage to conscious stewardship. If Nostradamus's dark vision teaches us anything, it is that the future is shaped by the choices we make today, and in that truth, there is still great hope. 8. Environmental collapse and famine. Let's take a moment to look closely at one of Nostradamus's most haunting prophecies, his vision of environmental collapse and famine and how it might connect to our world today, especially as we move into 2025. In his chilling words, he wrote, "The earth will crack and rivers will run dry. Famine will spread as harvests fail. Insects will plague the fields, and the cries of the hungry will echo across the land." It's unsettling, yes, but more than that, it's a wake-up call. These are not just cryptic verses from the past. They feel eerily aligned with what scientists, farmers, and communities around the globe are already witnessing. As temperatures rise and climate patterns become more unpredictable, we're seeing crops fail in regions that were once fertile and reliable. You might wonder, could this prophecy be less about doom and more of a warning to inspire action? Today, the signs are all around us. Prolonged droughts in some areas are drying up rivers and lakes, making it harder for people to find clean drinking water or keep their farms alive. On the other hand, violent floods and storms wash away soil, destroy homes, and erase months, sometimes years, of agricultural labor. And just as Nostradamus foresaw, the rise in pest infestations like locusts and other crop-destroying insects has already devastated parts of Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. If conditions continue to deteriorate, food supply chains will struggle to keep up with the growing demand. Could this lead to food scarcity, higher prices, and even hunger on a scale we haven't seen before? But the warning doesn't stop at nature. Famine has a ripple effect. It disrupts families, communities, and entire nations. When food becomes scarce, people are forced to move, often leaving behind everything they know in search of survival. This kind of mass migration can lead to overcrowding in already fragile regions, creating tension, conflict, and competition over limited resources. Governments may struggle to respond, and humanitarian organizations could become overwhelmed. Nostradamus isn't just speaking about failed crops. He's pointing toward the deeper consequences of our actions and the interconnectedness of all life on Earth. If we neglect the planet, we don't just damage the environment, we also disrupt peace, harmony, and human dignity. So the question becomes, what can you do in the face of such a heavy and complex issue? While we may not have control over global weather systems, we do have the power to shift how we live, what we support, and how we treat the earth. Are we conserving water, supporting sustainable agriculture, and reducing waste? Are we holding companies and leaders accountable for environmental harm? Are we educating ourselves and others about what's really at stake, not just for us, but for future generations? It's easy to feel powerless in the face of such large-scale predictions, but remember, collective change begins with individual action. In the end, Nostradamus' message doesn't have to lead us into fear, it can guide us into greater awareness. His words may seem grim, but they also hold the mirror up to our own behavior. If we listen carefully, the lesson is clear. Protect the earth, because in doing so, we protect each other. Famine and collapse don't have to be our destiny. But to avoid that path, we must first recognize that every choice we make, from what we eat to how we treat natural resources, shapes the world we leave behind. So, ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to help create? Let this reflection lead you not into despair, but into action, compassion, and a deeper connection to the living planet we all share. You've just taken a powerful step toward understanding what could lie ahead in 2025. If this message stirred something in you, drop a prepared mind in the comments. There's more to explore. Stay with us as we reveal how these ancient predictions might hold the key to your future decisions. 9. Asteroid or space disaster. Let's talk about something that has fascinated us for centuries: space. Yes, that vast, mysterious, awe-inspiring frontier above us, often hailed as humanity's next great adventure. But with every opportunity comes a shadow, a question we must ask ourselves: are we ready for what lies ahead? According to the enigmatic seer Nostradamus, the stars don't just hold dreams, they may also hold warnings. He once wrote, "Astronomers will peer beyond the stars and perhaps discover a new world. But we must heed the warning of the fiery messenger descending from the heavens." When we hear the phrase fiery messenger, we might think of an asteroid, something powerful, fast, and entirely beyond our control. Could this be a vision of an asteroid impact, one capable of reshaping not just landscapes but life as we know it? Even a relatively small asteroid, if it were to crash into a densely populated region or stir the oceans into tsunamis, could turn a moment of cosmic wonder into a global catastrophe. Now, I don't share this to stir fear, but to stir awareness. In 2025, the possibilities are expanding. NASA, SpaceX, and space agencies across the globe are charting bold new missions to the Moon, to Mars, and beyond. We are stepping into the unknown with courage and innovation. But here's the deeper reflection. Are we becoming so enchanted by the stars that we forget the earth beneath our feet? Could Nostradamus' words be less about a literal collision from the sky and more about a metaphorical one, where our ambition clashes with our responsibilities? In Buddhist philosophy, there's a gentle reminder: however far you travel, you can never escape yourself. As we explore the cosmos, we carry with us all the same tendencies: greed, pride, carelessness. If we don't confront them here, we may simply replicate them out there. Besides asteroids, other threats quietly circle us in space. Solar flares that could cripple our technology, space debris that clutters the orbit, and even rising tensions between nations over space territories and resources. These are no longer science fiction, they are real-world risks. In the pursuit of greatness, have we lost sight of balance? Are we chasing progress at the cost of wisdom? The Buddha taught, "All that we are is the result of what we have thought. If our thoughts are consumed by conquest and domination, even among the stars, then our future, no matter how high we climb, may be just as turbulent as our past." So I ask you, truly, what kind of future do you want to see? Is it one where we reach Mars while Earth suffers? Or one where we build a foundation of harmony here before stepping further into the universe? These aren't just global questions, they are personal ones. How do we balance ambition with care? How do we dream big without forgetting where we stand? In Buddhist practice, the middle way teaches us not to go to extremes, not to indulge, not to deny, but to walk the path with awareness. And perhaps that's what this warning from Nostradamus is really about. A call to awaken, to be mindful, to look not only to the stars but to each other. Let's carry this reflection with us. In our journey forward, whether in space or here on Earth, may we never forget compassion, balance, and responsibility. As we gaze into the final frontier, may we also look inward and find the wisdom to build a future that truly shines. 10. Genetic engineering. Ethics. In one of Nostradamus' most enigmatic and unsettling predictions for 2025, he touches on a topic that feels eerily close to today's scientific frontier: genetic engineering. His cryptic words, "From the human flock 9 will be set apart, separated from judgment and cancelled. Their destiny will be shaped by their deeds. They will be revered for their profound understanding," seem to hint at a future where a select few may be transformed, genetically altered or elevated in a way that distances them from the rest of humanity. This prediction, though poetic and symbolic, echoes the reality we are beginning to witness in modern science, where genetic modification is no longer the stuff of science fiction, but a tangible and rapidly advancing technology. With tools like CRISPR and gene editing now capable of rewriting the very blueprint of life, we stand on the threshold of a new age, one filled with promise, yet shadowed by deep ethical questions. What does it truly mean to reshape life at its core? And who decides the line between healing and enhancement? On one hand, the possibilities are stunning. We could cure genetic diseases, potentially prevent cancer before it starts, and perhaps extend the human lifespan in ways that were unthinkable just a decade ago. Scientists already speak of editing genes to improve intelligence, physical strength, and resistance to illness. Such breakthroughs could mean a healthier, stronger, more capable generation. The 9 set apart in Nostradamus' verse might very well symbolize the pioneers. Either scientists unlocking the code of life or individuals born of engineered perfection. In either case, they are depicted as removed from common judgment, perhaps even placed on a pedestal because of their advanced knowledge or altered nature. And yet, this very separation is what should give us pause, because with every leap forward in control, we risk leaving others behind. It opens the door to a society divided not by class or wealth alone, but by biology itself, between those who can afford to be enhanced and those who cannot. This is where the prophecy becomes not just a prediction, but a warning. The marvels of genetic engineering come with a cost that isn't measured in dollars, but in ethics, in compassion, in wisdom. Consider agriculture. Genetically modified crops have already helped increase yields and reduce hunger in some areas, yet they've also raised concerns about environmental impact, corporate control of food systems, and the loss of biodiversity. Now take that to the human level. If we begin engineering children to be smarter, taller, or more resilient, What becomes of the natural diversity that makes us uniquely human? And, more importantly, how do we ensure that compassion and equality evolve alongside technology? Nostradamus' message, though shrouded in mystery, ultimately calls us to reflect, not just on the marvels that lie ahead, but on the responsibility we carry as stewards of such power. We are reminded that wisdom must guide innovation. Just because we can alter life doesn't always mean we should. In today's world, where many of us already feel the pressure to keep up with fast-changing technologies, the deeper challenge is to stay rooted in values that preserve dignity, fairness, and the balance of nature. As genetic engineering edges closer to everyday reality, each of us, whether scientist, policymaker, or simply concerned citizen, must ask how we can shape a future that uplifts all people, not just a privileged few. Let us walk this path mindfully, remembering that the most powerful transformations are those that arise not just from what we do to the world, but from how we choose to care for it and for one another. So as we reflect on the haunting yet thought-provoking visions of Nostradamus for 2025, one thing becomes clear. These aren't just predictions to fear, but opportunities to awaken. Whether they come true or not, they remind us of the importance of awareness, responsibility, and the power of our choices. If you found value in today's journey, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribing to the Journey of Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming reflections and teachings. Because the future is not fixed. It's shaped by the wisdom we choose today. Thank you for watching. May you walk your path with clarity, courage, and compassion.